Welcome to the Jazzy Eyes podcast, taking care of your vision with expert precision. Here's your host, Dr. Nguyen.
Hello, and welcome everyone to episode number 3 of the Jazzy Eyes podcast. I'm your co-host and producer of the show, Jeremy Wolf, and I'm here with none other than your host. We have Dr. Nguyen.
Yes.
Dr. Nguyen, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I am doing very, very well. It's Monday.
Yes.
It is back to school, officially back to school.
Yes.
Kids are out of the house, back in school.
Out of school now. There's a lot of out of school traffic now.
Just shock to the system, right? Total change in schedules. And I know I was just talking to Dr. Falco about this whole issue of back to school, and she offered some really valuable insights that made me realize, like, wait, I got to come in and see you guys very soon, because it's been too long since my kids have had an eye exam. And we were just talking about how it seems that everything's okay, but oftentimes that's not the case, and it's important to get checked out. So I was hoping that maybe you could share your perspective on our kids going back to school, maybe share some tips and things that they can do to ensure they're making the most out of their vision and that they're the most productive that they can be in school.
Right. So now kids are going back to school, and it's, they're spending all hours of their days in school reading textbooks, and they're coming home and they're doing their homework up close. And back then it was, after you do your homework, you can go outside and play with your friends and everything outdoors, right? But now it's because of technology, social media, and gaming, everyone is on their phones more, or looking at a device more after they've done their homework. And so back then there wasn't a lot of studies showing, like, if you were on the computer a lot, that's going to increase, nearsightedness in kids, because that's what shows, kids are born a little bit more farsighted. And when they go to school and they're looking at near work, they become a little bit more nearsighted, year by year. But ever since, tablets and phones have become a thing, it's been shown that, there's more evidence supporting that it could increase nearsighted in kids now, not because of specifically the device that they're on, but more because they're not outdoors as much.
You said it could increase nearsighted. I mean, goodness, I can speak from experience. When I'm on my phone too much, my eyes start straining, and I can only imagine for kids, especially if they're younger kids and they're already having some issues with their vision that aren't known, right? Maybe they're not getting help. They don't have glasses, and they're in school all day, and then they come home and now they're right on their devices, straining and looking. I can only imagine that problem could get spiraled out of proportion real quickly.
And so everyone can have eye strain, kids, adults, everyone. That's a short-term effect of like everything being like 30 centimeters away from you. That's just a short-term effect, but long-term, now people are becoming more and more nearsighted. I don't know what it is about the outdoors or the daylight, but being outside actually slows the progression of being nearsighted. And because kids are on their device more often, they're not outside as often, and so they're getting more nearsighted. And that's what seems to be the trend going long-term now.
I mean, my son who's 9, thankfully, we live in a neighborhood where he can go outside and play with all the kids and get lost out there for hours upon end playing sports. My daughter, unfortunately, she is the one that's typically on it. Like when she's playing with her friends, it's on her devices. They're on a chat group and they're playing games off that. There's some value to her always being on the devices. She's getting good with graphic design and certain useful functions, but at the same time, it's pretty freaky to see them on their devices for as long as they are, not knowing long-term effects of this type of stuff. And I know I just mentioned before we hopped on, my son just got the VR headset, the virtual reality, which is incredibly cool, but also incredibly concerning that if he has that on too often, like what are the long-term effects of that for him? I'm interested to hear your perspective on the whole VR world.
How often are they on the computer? Like, how many hours would you say they would be on a device, all day?
Oh my God. My daughter, it's many, many hours on the day. So far too much, I'll be the first to admit. And I do whatever I can to pull it. And I'm hoping that with school now, she'll have more time to draw away from that. But at the
Right.
same time, if she's in school all day looking at books and looking at the teacher in the front of the room, and then she comes home and she's on the device, how much too much is it, right? Or how much too much,
Yeah,
how much
yeah.
is too much, if I could speak properly, right?
So being on the computer, whether it's like gaming or like, all of the graphic designs that your daughter is doing, all of it contributes to this name that they coined computer vision syndrome, which is not only eye strain, you're gonna have eye strain, you're gonna have a big one is dry eyes, you're gonna have issues focusing, which is why you might see a little bit blurry sometimes. But other than eyes, you would also have neck stiffness, headache, just your posture. Some people hunch over a little bit more when they're on the computer. So it's your whole body, including your eyes, is part of this computer vision syndrome. And so, interestingly enough, when you're on the computer, relating to dry eyes, when you're on the computer, you're not blinking as much as you should. So I think the average blink rate is you're supposed to be blinking 15 to 20 blinks per minute.
You got
When
me
you're
blinking a lot now. I'm like conscious of my
Yeah,
blinking. Like, how many times am I blinking?
Thankfully, our body does it for us, so we don't have to think about it. But when you're on a computer and you're more focused, you're actually blinking much, much less than 15 to 20 blinks a minute. You're actually blinking like 5 or 7 times a minute. And that's a very generous 5 to 7 blinks. So if you were to talk about, someone working for 8 hours a day, right? Normally they would blink 7,000 blinks if they weren't on a computer just in that 8 hours of a workday. If you're working at a computer or you're a student who's online and there are 8 hours of school, you're actually blinking about 2,000 to 3,000 blinks within that 8 hours. You're missing out on 4,000 blinks that you should be blinking that you're not. And so that makes dry eye symptoms even worse. And everyone has dry eyes. They just don't feel the symptoms. But when you're on a computer screen, more gaming or doing work or stuff like that, it can exacerbate dry eye symptoms.
Well, I can say from where I sit, my own personal experience, I could use a break from the screen time because we're here on this recording. And as we're talking, I'm feeling the dry eyes and I'm feeling a little bit of head pressure. And I don't know, I need to speaking of vision, forget my kids, I need to go get my eyes checked out because
we might need glasses.
I had LASIK surgery done 15 years ago and it was phenomenal. And I haven't really done anything since. And I know it's not optimal right now. I know I need to get reevaluated. So I'm coming in with the kids. That's it.
Yeah. Everyone who had LASIK back then, they got a good 10, 15 years out of it. But after a certain age, you're going to start realizing that you need glasses for up close work or for computer, or else you're going to be sitting at your computer at an awkward position, hunched over, looking in a little bit, because your near vision isn't as good as it used to be when you're younger.
Yeah,
That's and everyone.
And I think people are just stubborn, right? When it comes to my wife told me yesterday, she increased the size on her phone of the text because she was having a problem. And she goes, let me do it for you. Let me do it for you. I said, no. I'm good. I don't want to go there yet. There's a resistance to doing that when, in many cases, that's probably a function of, I probably do need a tune-up or a new LASIK surgery or glasses, and I just don't want to go there. And then now I'm resisting increasing the size of my phone, and all these things are probably just making my situation worse quicker, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it's actually people who haven't worn glasses in a while, like people who have LASIK, and now they have the convenience of not having to wear glasses.
They don't want to do that.
It's so hard to convince them to wear glasses when they finally need it again.
We're a stubborn breed, right?
Yes. LASIK
I'm interested to see. I'd imagine that I might very well be a good candidate. I mean, obviously it depends on a lot of factors, but for LASIK again, right? They do second rounds of LASIK surgery all the time, I'd imagine, right?
I mean, they do, but it puts you up for a lot of other complications, such as corneas. Your tissue can thin because now they're lasering more tissue than they did the first time, and dry eyes is a very common symptom of LASIK, especially having it done again.
All right. Well,
best bet is glasses.
I'm feeling a new pair of Gucci's in my future, I think.
We got you for that.
Dr. Nguyen, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us or touch upon? Any other tips you'd like to give before we wrap up here?
Yeah. So we talked about like the screen times, the confusion, the computer vision syndrome, and the dry eyes. All of those are kind of interconnected. And so there are things that we can do that can alleviate those symptoms, like taking breaks more often is what you talked about. I don't know if you've ever heard of what it's called the 20-20-20 rule. It's like,
Please share.
it's like every 20 minutes, you're supposed to take a break and look away in the distance, 20 feet away for 20 seconds. And that's what I tell my patients to do. However, like when you are working and you're so into your work, 20 minutes goes by super quick. And it's counterproductive for you to step away from your computer every 30 minutes because you're not getting things done quickly as you want. So even if patients can't meet that 20-20-20 requirement, I tell them that it doesn't have to be 20 minutes. They can just every hour, every 2 hours, they can just stare away, stare at a window, daydream for about 1 to 2 minutes, and then come back to whatever they're doing.
I thought you were going to say, I'm sitting here, you're like 20-20-20. I'm like, okay, so 20 minutes worth of work, 20 minutes worth of looking away, and 20 minutes for nap time.
Yes, exactly. That works
That's
too.
my optimal recipe for success or lack of productivity, right?
That's probably what I should start telling them to do. write a script to their work. She has to take a 20-minute nap every single day.
It's an absolute necessity for optimal peak performance, don't you know?
Exactly. Doctor's orders.
Oh, goodness. Awesome. Well, hey.
And on top of taking those breaks, artificial tears, even when you're not feeling the symptoms of dry eyes, could help, because once you're starting to feel those dry eye symptoms, it's already too late. You're already having, the cycle of dry eyes and then rubbing your eyes and then eye strain and everything.
Yeah, I think the optimal mix is just to not do any, or not optimal mix, but the best thing is just not to do any one thing too often. Like for me, if I'm having a hard time, if my eyes are straining, I'll just go maybe take 5 minutes and meditate, just close my eyes and listen to a meditation app and just kind of do that. Or sometimes just go for a run. Like you said, getting outside.
Outdoor time. That's great.
A different perspective, the sunlight, all these different things obviously have to help. So Dr. Nguyen, always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. I lost my train of thought there for a second. You have to excuse me. It's been a long Monday with the kids back in school.
It has been. And people are still getting out of school. My nephew's getting picked up right now, and the line's at least an hour long.
Chaos. Well, awesome. Well, I will look forward to seeing you on the next episode. And thanks always to our listeners for tuning in. And we'll see you later. Everyone have a wonderful day and take care.
Thank you for listening to the Jazzy Eyes podcast. For more information, visit jazzyeyes.com or contact 954-473-0100.